Daf Yomi, Tractate Menachot, page 18b, top of the page. The words V'yatznan, Shishim Nivlalin, Shishim V'echade Nivlalin, V'yavenin Ba, Ki'inam Nivlal Mai, Habe, V'yatznan Lo Balal Keshera. The Gemara asks, but didn't we learn in the Mishnah 103b, one who volunteers to bring a meal offering of 61 tenths of an ephah of flour must bring a meal offering of 60 tenths of an ephah in one vessel, and a meal offering of a tenth of an ephah in a second vessel. Because 60 tenths of an ephah of flour can be properly mixed with 60 tenths of an ephah of flour can be properly mixed with a log of oil, but 61 tenths cannot be properly mixed with the oil. That 1/10 makes all the difference. Wow. And we discussed it and asked if the 61 tenths of an ephah do not mix with a log of oil, what of it? But didn't we learn in the Mishnah here that although there is a mitzvah to mix the oil in the meal offering, if one did not mix the oil into it, the meal offering is still fit. Chol haroy lebila, ain't bila makeves bo. And Rabbi Zera said the following explanation: for any measure of flour that is suitable for mixing with oil in a meal offering, the lack of mixing does not invalidate the meal offering, even though there is a mitzvah to mix the oil and the flour, l'chatchila, which means ab initio, means the best way to do it is that. But the meal offering is nonetheless fit for sacrifice, even if the oil and the flour are not mixed. For any measure of flour that is not suitable for mixing with oil in the meal offering, the lack of mixing invalidates the meal offering. This discussion demonstrates that when the Mishnah here says that the oil was not mixed into the meal offering, it means that it was not mixed at all. Therefore, the Mishnah statement that the meal offering is fit, even if the oil was not poured, should be understood as referring to a case where the oil was never poured and not as the Gemara inferred as referring to a case where a non-priest poured it. The Gemara refutes this proof. And are these cases comparable? This case is as it is, and that case as it is. When the Mishnah states if one did not pour the oil onto the meal offering, it is referring to a case where the priest did not pour oil onto the meal offering, but a non-priest did pour it. When it states if one did not mix the oil into the meal offering, it means he did not mix the oil at all. O shiptatan piti mirubois keshero ashtoloi batat klal keshero piti mirubois miboye my piti mirubois sheriba bebetitin. The Mishnah teaches, or if it happened that the priest broke the meal offerings that require breaking into greater pieces, piti mirubot, inappropriate, the meal offering is fit. The Gemara asks, now that it has already been stated in the Mishnah that one did not break the loaves into pieces at all, the meal offering is fit. It is necessary to state that if one broke the meal offering into greater pieces, then appropriate, the meal offering is fit. The Gemara answers, what does the expression pitin mirubot mean? It means that he increased riba, the amount of the meal offering's pieces, by breaking the loaves into any pieces that were each smaller than an olive bulb. Ve'i bayis eima le'oilam piti mirubois mamash. Umahu de teima, mahu de teima, Amudi Toiras Chalois Alehin. Aun Hocho Deloi Toiras Chalois Al Ika Velo Toiras Pititi Nika Kamash Melahan. And if you were to say instead, the Mishnah is actually referring literally to large pieces, and it was necessary to teach this explicitly, lest you say that the meal offering is fit there when the loaves are not broken, since they have the status of loaves. But here, when the loaves are broken into excessively large pieces and no longer have the status of loaves, as they have been broken up but still do not have the status of pieces, as they are not the correct size, the offering is not fit. Therefore, it is necessary for the Mishnah to teach this halacha explicitly. Leima masti sender like Rabbi Shimon the Tanya, Rabbi Shimon Omer, Kol kohen shinoy b'avoida, ein lo chelak b'kahuna, shenema, hamakiv et dam hashlamim, v'et ha'achel v'bnei Aaron, lo tiyeh shokay min lemana. Modeh, b'avoida yesh lo chelak b'kahuna, shein moed b'avoida ein lo chelak b'kahuna. Based on the Gemara's earlier inference, that when the Mishnah states that the meal offering is valid, even if the priest did not pour the oil, it is referring to a case where a non-priest did perform this action. The Gemara suggests, let us say, that the Mishnah is not in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Shimon, as it is taught in a Braita, that Rabbi Shimon says, any priest who does not admit to the validity of the sacrificial rites has no portion in the rights of the priesthood. Say it again. Rabbi Shimon says any priest who does not admit to the validity of the sacrificial rites has no portion in the gifts of the priesthood. Okay, it makes sense. It kind of reminds me, like they say, if someone doesn't believe in the resurrection of the dead, then they don't resurrect. It's kind of like, seems like that. As is stated, he among the sons of Aaron that offers the blood of the peace offerings and the fat shall have the right thigh for a portion. Leviticus 7:33. This teaches that one who admits to the validity of the sacrificial rites and accepts responsibility for them has a portion of the priestly gifts, but one who does not admit to the validity of sacrificial rites does not have a portion in the priestly gifts. The Brisa continues, and I have derived only that a priest does not have a share in the priestly gifts if he does not admit to the validity of these rites of the presenting of the blood or the burning of the fats alone, which are the sacrificial rites of a slaughtered offering. As those rites are enumerated in the verse, from where is it derived that this halacha also includes one who does not admit the validity of the 15 sacrificial rites performed by the priest? It's a shofar. Hear that? Hayitzikos, v'habelilos, v'habetitos, betitot, v'hamelichot, v'hatenuvot, v'hagashot, v'hakamitzot, v'haktarot, v'hamalikot, v'hakabanot, v'hazaot, v'hashka'at sota, v'harifat egla, v'tarat mitzoira, u'nisiut kapayim, בין בפנים ובין בחוץ מנהיים. The Braita clarifies, these are the rites of the meal offering. Meaning, these are the rites of the meal offering. The pouring of the oil, the mixing, the breaking, the salting, the waving, the bringing of the offering to the altar, the removal of the handful, and the burning of the handful on the altar. And it includes other rites as well. The pinching of the nape of the neck of a burnt offering, and the receiving of the blood in a vessel, and the sprinkling of the blood, and the giving of water to a woman suspected by her husband of having been unfaithful, and the ritual of breaking a heifer's neck, and the purification of a leper, and lifting of the hands for the priestly benediction, whether inside or outside the temple. From where is it derived that this halacha also includes one who does not admit to the validity of these rites? Talmud Loma, mi bnei Aharon, avodah mesua libnei Aharon, kol kohen she'eino moed ba, eino chelek b'kehuna. The Braita continues. The verse states, among the sons of Aaron, teaching that with regard to any sacrificial rite that is entrusted to the sons of Aaron, any priest who does not admit to its validity does not have a portion in the priestly gifts. Since the pouring of the oil is included in the list of sacrificial rites entrusted to the priests, according to Rabbi Shimon, the offering should not be fit if this service was performed by a non-priest. Amar Rav Nachman lo ikashia kan b'minchas kohanim, kan b'minchas Yisrael, minchas Yisrael tibas kemitzah hi bekemitzah v'ele mitzvahs kehuna limed al yetziga ublila shekshera bezar minchas kohanim dilav bas kemitzah hi mikore ba'ya kehuna. Rav Nachman said this is not difficult. There in the Braita, Rabbi Shimon is referring to the meal offering of priests, whereas here in the Mishnah, the context is the meal offering of an Israelite. In the case of a meal offering of an Israelite, which is one that requires the removal of a handful to be burned on the altar, a verse teaches that from the stage of the removal of the handful onward, the rites performed with the meal offering are solely the mitzvah of the members of the priesthood. Therefore, this verse also teaches that the pouring of the oil and the mixing rites performed before the removal of the handful are valid, even if they are performed by a non-priest. By contrast, the meal offering of priests, which is the one that does not require the removal of a handful, as the entire meal offering is burned on the altar, requires that from the outset the rites must be performed by a member of the priesthood, otherwise it is unfit. Amar le Rava michdei minchas kohen vehecha yischa v'litzika minchas Yisrael mahasum ksher uzal avhocha nami ksher uzal. Rava said to him, after all, in the case of the meal offering of priests, from where it was included that there is an obligation to pour the from where was it included that there is an obligation to pour the oil? It is derived from the halacha of the meal offering of an Israelite, where this halacha is stated explicitly. Therefore, just as the rite is valid when performed by a non-priest, so to here, the rite is also valid when performed by a non-priest. Yikadei amri, amar Rav Nachman, lo ikashya, kan benik matzos, kan b'she'en nikmatzos. There are those who say that the discussion took place as follows. Rav Nachman said this is not difficult. Here, when the Mishnah teaches that a meal offering is fit if the oil is poured by a non-priest, it is referring to meal offerings from which is a handful is removed, Whereas there, in the Braita that lists the pouring of the oil as one of the rites performed by the priest, is referring to meal offerings from which a handful is not removed. Benikmatzos kenikmatzos mahasam ksher mazal avhachan am ksher mazal and mechavahot b'znisin deloka b'shimon. Rava said to him, after all, in the case of meal offerings from which a handful is not removed, from where it was included that there is also an obligation to pour the oil, it is derived from meal offerings from which a handful is removed, where this halacha is stated explicitly. Therefore, the halacha with regard to meal offerings from which a handful is not removed is like the halacha with regard to those from which a handful is removed. Just as there, the rite is valid when performed by a non-priest, so too here the rite is also valid when performed by a non-priest. Rather, since Rabbi deflected from Nachman's explanation of the opinion of Rabbi Shimon in the Braita, it is clear that the Mishnah is not in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Shimon. My time is Rabbanon. Amakov Yasakon Hashemen Benasakon Elvoina Behivia El Bnei Aaron HaKohen Mikomatz Mikemitza Ela B'tzvaz Kehuna Limed Al Yitzika Ubenila Shiksher Bezah. The Gemara asks, what is the reasoning of the rabbis who hold that the offering is fit even if the oil was poured by a non-priest? The verse states, and he shall pour oil upon it, and put frankincense upon it, and he shall bring it to Aaron's sons, the priests, and he shall remove his handful. Leviticus 2, 1 and 2. From here is derived that from the removal of the handful onward, the rites of the meal offering are solely the mitzvah of the members of the priesthood. Therefore, this verse also teaches that the pouring of the oil and the mixing rites performed before the removal of the handful are valid, even if they are performed by a non-priest. Then Rabbi Shimon b'nei Aaron, it's going to be Rabbi Shimon, the Aaron's sons. What does he do with that? That's going to be, how's he darshan that? Pretty sure he's going to ask that. So you want to ask, and what would Rabbi Shimon say in response? Oh, what would Rabbi Shimon say to this? He would say, b'nei Aaron. That's what he would mean, something else. God willing, we'll see you tomorrow.